What will USC's projected record be in 2025? Well, let's first look back at some projections from the last 4 years. And this is with our projected record formula. This is not a prediction. So everything in this video, remember that. This is not a prediction. I don't do predictions until after Memorial Day, after spring football, all of that. I still think USC might be fairly active in the transfer portal in this spring window. We'll see. But yeah, I don't think we know for sure what this team is going to look like just yet. You look at 2021, projection was 8-4. They went 4-8, so they were in reverse of that. And then in 2022, projection was 8-4 again. They go 11-1, so they beat the projection that season. And then in 2023, projection was 10-2. They go 7-5. So projections were not very accurate. But last season, they were right on the money. Projection was 6-6. They went 6-6. So I have tweaked the formula throughout the years. So maybe it was maybe those tweaks helped to get a more accurate projection in 2024, or maybe USC was just kind of what we expect. I would say most people did not predict USC to go 6-6. I didn't pick them to go 6-6. I had them doing better than that. So maybe this projection was onto something there. I don't know. We'll see what it looks like for 2025. Again, here is the schedule, and this is the scale that we use. So with this formula, it's all based off of our tier rankings, and USC is in tier number 3. They're in the same tier as Nebraska and Iowa, some of the teams that they'll play this year. And so if they play another tier 3 team, that's going to be in the white. That'll be a 50-50 game. If they play a tier 4 team, it'll go into the purple, 61-70. But if that game is on the road, then it drops to a 50-50 game. So that's kind of the way this works. You can also look at it in terms of point spreads. Not the way this formula is calculated, but it does kind of work out this way. If it's a 50-50 game, the spread's more than likely going to be 3, 4, 5 points maybe, 61-70. Talking about a touchdown spread, 6, 7, 8 points, kind of in that range, 71-80. Talking probably double digits point spread in those types of games, and then over 80. Those are pretty much guaranteed wins. And for USC, you've only got 2 of those games, Missouri State and Georgia Southern. Those are considered wins. We're just go ahead and count those as wins when we do the math at the end. So 2 wins for a USC, 2 easy games, and then you've got Purdue and Northwestern. Now Purdue would have actually been in the green, but being on the road was just enough to bump it down into the blue. So that's kind of the way this works. Northwestern at home. Again, you feel pretty good about those games. You feel like USC is going to be a double-digit favorite. Not guaranteed wins, because upsets do happen, of course, but you feel pretty good about 4 games. You feel like USC should be able to win those 4 games, which means like if they split the rest of them, they'd go 8-4. But that's not exactly how this works. But that's just something to think about there. So how about games where they're going to be I'd say about a touchdown favorite? We got Michigan State, we got UCLA. These are tier 4 teams, so USC is in a tier above them, plus they're playing at home. That's why you see these games in the purple. And then how about underdogs? They're going to be underdogs. I think you look at Illinois. I think Illinois, I've got them in tier number 2 because of the way they finished last year and some of their pieces coming back. That game on the road as well. So that's going to be a tough one. USC, I think, is going to be probably a 6 or 7 point underdog there. And then we've got games that are going to be bigger underdogs. We're talking Notre Dame and Oregon. These will be very, very tough for USC. Teams that are, these are tier 1 teams, plus they're on the road. So those will be very tough matchups for USC. If I'm a USC fan and I'm thinking big and I'm thinking playoff, maybe you don't win those games, but then you beat everyone else. And that is going to be enough. If they go 10-2 with this schedule, that's going to be enough to get them into the college football playoffs. So then you've got Michigan, Nebraska, and Iowa. Again, Nebraska and Iowa are tier 3 teams. They're in the same tier as USC, so those are 50-50 games. Michigan is tier 2, but because that game is at home, that's enough to make it a 50-50 game, and that's enough to say that USC can absolutely win that game. It's very close to being a toss-up, in my opinion. So those 3 games, they're probably going to be close, and USC just was not good at winning the close games last season. Can they change that this year? Can they win some of those close games? Because if they are able to win those close games and then they're able to pull off an upset, let's say against Illinois, 10-2 is on the table, but I think that's probably about the best case scenario for this USC team. But also on the table is a loss to Illinois, and a loss to Michigan, and a loss to Nebraska, and a loss to Iowa. Then you're sitting there at 6-6 again. You slip up and have a big upset somewhere else like Michigan State and UCLA, you're 5-7. So I mean, it could go either way when you've got a lot of games that do figure to be pretty close. And this schedule will be a grind. It's tough, and I don't like the way these games are set up where they are. I don't like the bye weeks being so close together. Some definitely some tricky things with the schedule. So what is the projection for USC? When we average all of this out, what do we get? Well, we get 7-5. So I think 7-5 a pretty fair projection. Let's say they lose to Notre Dame and they lose to Oregon. Then you've got Illinois, Michigan, Nebraska, and Iowa. If they split those games, then they can get to 8-4. But the odds would say that they're probably going to slip up in one other game, like Michigan State, UCLA, Northwestern, Purdue. When you got that many games where you're going to be a favorite but not a huge favorite, odds would say you're going to trip up and maybe lose one of these games. And maybe they do, maybe they don't. So for me, I think 7-5 is fair. I think probably closer to 8-4 than 6-6 in terms of just a projection. Not saying that's what I would predict. I might predict 4-8. I don't know. I haven't made predictions yet. But just again, based off of our formula, I think 7-5 does come out pretty fair for USC, and it would be a little bit of a better season than what they had last year.